1 minute, 1 minute. Thirty seconds. Ten, nine, eight, seven, 6, 5.
Welcome to the Tuesday, January 26th, 2021 regular school board meeting, which I now call to order. The invocation today is by Pastor Joe Glimpf of the Prince of Peace Lutheran Church on Missouri. It will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem, which will be performed on the viola by Arlene Aslani, a senior at the Boca Ciega High School. The Boca Ciega band program is directed by Joe Superior. So if you would all please stand and welcome, Pastor.
Let us pray. God of all grace, we thank you for Pinellas County, our home, for our friends, family you've given us, for all our many blessings. We thank you for the recent report of increased graduation rates and for the work of our classroom leaders and for the students who have made this goal a reality. In the weeks ahead, we will confront, oh God, the one-year anniversary of a change for all of us that we never could have seen coming. Teachers, administrators, and this board were forced to make decisions for the sake of our health with facts and guidelines that were just being formulated. Through all of the challenges, past and present, oh God, you have provided, and we thank you. And we pray now. Bless our teachers with courage, patience, and resourcefulness as they use their skills to engage students in classrooms every day and at a distance. Bless our schools, staffs, the administrators, and these board leaders who give their lives each day to fashioning a positive learning environment for all. Guide them as they set and carry out policy for these challenging times. Bless parents, gracious God, with resolve to create a firm foundation for learning at home despite the obstacles they have been facing this year. And bless our children and our youth. Give them strength to resist the temptations to walk where it is unsafe and to withstand the pressures to do what is unwise. Encourage their creativity, their desire to learn and grow. Inspire them with a willingness to serve and to help one another from kindergarten to high school and beyond. Hear our prayers, O God, for you are indeed our rock and our Redeemer. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. All right. Well, thank you, Pastor Glimpf, for being here. We always appreciate it when you're able to come join us. I think that's the first time we've ever had the viola do our national anthem. That was beautiful. And so that I give the right credit, the band program is directed by Joe Cipiora. Cipiora. And we're going to let it go at that. All right. We now move to the video that we're going to have today. And last Thursday night, we hosted our first virtual evening of excellence, celebrating our teachers and naming our district Teacher of the Year. Mrs. Sarah Painter from Eisenhower Elementary was the winner. Thank you to the thousands of people who turned in to recognize and honor the phenomenal educators. So let's see a few highlights of the wonderful evening.
Teachers, you let us make a difference, paved a path so that even the most challenged students can leave their fingerprints and rise up. We feel like we're running out of time, but you're there to pick us back up and give us the tools that we need to succeed. I'm past patiently waiting and passionately smashing every expectation, every action and application. I'm laughing in the face of casualties and sorrow. For the first time I'm thinking past tomorrow, and I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey yo, I'm just like my country, I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot.
So tonight is a very special evening as we celebrate the excellence that our teachers bring to their classrooms day after day. But tonight is also a very, very different evening, just as this school year has been very different. We're not gathered tonight at Mahaffey Theater with 2,000 guests cheering on our honored teachers. Instead, we're gathered virtually with our Teachers of the Year. They're going to be joining us via Zoom. We're going to be doing something that we do every year. We're going to cheer on our 10 finalists and also thank all of the other teachers that may not have been chosen this year but are doing a great job. Now it's my honor to introduce the 2020 Pinellas County Teacher of the Year, David Martinez Cooley. David.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us to honor and celebrate the outstanding work of teachers throughout Pinellas County. Congratulations to the top 10 finalists who are featured here this evening, to all of the Teacher of the Year nominees from schools throughout the district, and to every teacher in every classroom who is the Teacher of the Year every day for their students. We are part of an incredible network of educators, each of us with our individual strengths. When we open ourselves up to this community and collaborate with experts near and far, we multiply our strengths. We all become stronger, reaching higher and further to ensure success for all of our students. We all become the teacher our students need in each moment of every day. To them, we are all the Teacher of the Year, and we owe it to them to bring them our best every single day.
It is time. It is time to name the district's Teacher of the Year. But instead of coming on stage, I'm actually live on location where the Teacher of the Year is watching this show. Everybody, this is the moment we've been waiting for. The 2021 Pinellas County Schools Teacher of the Year is Sarah Painter from Eisenhower Elementary School.
I'm so honored. I just want to tell a quick story about finding joy. When I first started as simultaneous teaching, we had a lot of technical problems in the beginning, and I found myself constantly groaning and moaning every time the sound would go out or I would lose a student. And my students said, "Did you realize that you're doing that?" And so I told them to hold me accountable. And so every time our sound went out, we would say, "Find joy." And it was a daily reminder that your perspective and your mindset changes everything. And instead of being disappointed, we found joy in every moment. And so my message to you is, In a year where everything feels so uncertain, find joy, be more, look for the good because it's always there. And when you can't find it, ask them to help you find it. Thank you guys so much. I'm so honored.
Well, congratulations, Mrs. Painter. Virtually, we joined your excited family, co-workers, and fans to cheer you on when you won. I imagine it's an evening you won't soon forget. And to all the other nominees, thank you for being such wonderful representatives of our outstanding educators that we have here in Pinellas County. All right, we will now move to the introductions of professional and community organization representatives. We have Isabella Mascarenas, our Public Information Officer. Welcome.
Welcome. Good evening. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Grego and staff, it is my pleasure to introduce the following representatives of community and professional organizations. From the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, Nancy Velarde, President. From the Pinellas Arts for a Complete Education Coalition, Rondi Hiliso, Associate Director, is attending virtually. Today, we also have a presentation from the Students' Rights and Responsibility Committee. Please welcome Hannah Kim, Eileen Alvarez Perez from Boca Ciega High School and their principal, Michael Vigu.
Hi, good evening, everyone. We are students from the Boca Ciega High School. My name is Eileen Alvarez Perez, and I plan on majoring in psychology and minoring in neuroscience or business at a four-year university.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hannah Kim, and I am a senior here at Boca Ciega. After high school, I plan on going to USF and majoring in business administrations in order to enhance my opportunities to become a real estate agent. So while we get started, I wanted to do a general overview of Boca Ciega. We have right now approximately 1,600 students attending Boca Ciega. And with that, we have three programs. We have our traditional, fundamental, and CWMP medical program. And for each program, we actually have about 500 to 600 students in each program. I also wanted to go a little bit deeper into our CWMP program. It stands for Center for Wellness and Medical Professions. It's our medical program. And what it does is it actually kind of preps our students if they would like to join the medical field after high school. They get the foundation and the basic knowledge of what it takes to be in the medical field and have a medical profession. With that, we actually have a requirement that each grade level, each students take a health science class. And in each health science class, it actually preps you for the next one. We also have a 200-hour volunteer requirement, 100 medical and 100 non-medical. And it really prepares you because you get to go out into the world and experience these things of your own responsibility, and you get to see all these different medical professions take place, and you get to actually use your knowledge that you've learned in school in this medical program and apply it to your volunteer experience. So I think that it's really cool that it's something that we offer. Something else that we do in our medical program is we actually have a uniform twice a week. And we do scrubs every Tuesdays, and we do our professional dress, which is a polo and khakis, every Thursday. And that kind of teaches us the responsibilities of our uniforms and organization. We also wanted to talk about how our school actually offers certificates that you take your senior year. You can take a pathway to CNA, which is actually a little bit more hands-on, and you get to interact with patients. And then we also have our EKG pathway, which is a little bit more about heart monitoring and less interaction with patients if that's your thing, but a lot more math involvement. And with these certificates, our success rate that we actually have of our students is over 90% for each program, which I think is amazing. And our students really do work really hard to achieve our certificates, as well as others that we offer, such as CPR or our blood and pathogens certificate. And then we have Eileen, who wants to explain a little bit more about our fundamental program.
Although I do personally believe the CWMP program at Bogosiega is an incredible program, I personally chose to do the fundamental program. I think it's a great opportunity that allows both students, teachers, as well as parents to build and establish a one-on-one connection, which I think can't really be done anywhere else. As well, we have monthly required parent meetings where students and parents are allowed to come into campus and participate in monthly meetings, which the one and only Miss Vendora does conduct every month. And honestly, I think these monthly meetings are just a great opportunity to get new information pertaining to scholarships, education requirements, and just overall knowledge that's important to as a student and as a parent. Lastly, at the fundamental program, also why I chose it is because I, as a student, was able to kind of pick my education based on my own curiosity. We're allowed to pick our own classes. There's no requirements. I'm able to as well take CWMP classes as well as traditional, how many dual enrollment or classes that I desired. And honestly, I loved every little bit of it that I was able to attain in my experience this year. Also, because of the pandemic, sadly, we were able to give students either face-to-face or online. At the beginning of the year, only 45% of our student body was face-to-face and 65% was around online. However, because the Bogosiega has done an amazing job at establishing and maintaining, precautions, wearing a mask, strict mask, everyone on campus, we have been able to kind of allow parents to feel more comfortable within and trust our staff and school to maintain a safe environment where they feel comfortable enough to send their students to school. And we have been able to increase our student body face-to-face population to 75%, which is really good, and it keeps growing. As well as we have been conducting hybrid classes where basically teachers have to attend both online students and face-to-face students at the same time. And honestly, me being a face-to-face student and Hannah being an online student, we both can agree that there's no advantage or disadvantage to either way. And besides the hardship and all the sad things that we have lost through the pandemic, I think we have had a really good senior year that definitely has been memorable for a change. And as well, we have gotten the same level of education we would have in any other year.
In addition to having the same opportunities of being online and face-to-face, for our sports and clubs, we actually offer it to all of our students at Bogosiega. So even though you may be online on PCS, you are still able to go to our school and do our sports and join our club activities. We would usually just set up a Teams Microsoft meeting if you wanted to do a club. For example, I'm in the Student Government Association. I'm the president, and I still get to connect with the students here at Bogosiega over a Microsoft Teams call. And I think that's really awesome that we get the opportunity and there's no disadvantage that you're online. Something else about our sports and clubs is actually this spring, we are proud to announce that we are going to be adding a lacrosse team for our boys and our girls. In fall, we also had championships for our volleyball and football team. And we have over 30 clubs and honor societies and several more clubs that have been going on that our students have been creating with our teachers as their sponsors. And that's so cool because it has created such a positive impact at Bogosiega and our community. And it really teaches our students the responsibility and that their voice is really important to us. And our opinions are always valid at this school. And we also wanted to talk about the JRTC that we have at Bogosiega. Our junior ROTC program is actually one of the largest public high school JROTC things in Florida, in the state of Florida. And it has over 300 cadets at the school, which is crazy. I didn't even know that. And something that we offer here is our leadership classes that each grade level who wants to take ROTC would take. And it also includes 3 competitive teams. We have our drill team, which is a little bit more about order. We have our Raiders team, which is a little bit more about physical, being physically competent. And we have our marksmanship, which is a little bit of our rifling team. To you.
Something great that I think also Bogey is well known for is their opportunity and access to all students to take both dual enrollment and AP classes. We actually have 9 on-site dual enrollment courses. And however, if students are still curious and want to attend any other dual enrollment classes that aren't offered on-site, they still have the ability to, of course, do it off-site at SPC. We're able to do this through USF and SPC, of course. We also have 27 AP classes, which is insane because a lot of schools don't have the ability to give so many AP classes. And I, speaking from experience, I've miraculously somehow have been able to take 19 AP classes, which I know does sound like a lot of a stress, but honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. I have gained immense experience in preparing for college and what it really takes, the individual determination that you have to inspire with inside and just always continually push on, and then the all-nighters for sure. Also, our school does offer students the ability to attain a capstone diploma, which requires students to take on a two-year part journey of AP classes, which is AP seminar and AP research. I was able to acquire this diploma in my junior year, and honestly, I recommend it to every student. I have been able to really establish good communication skills. It gives students the opportunity to have academic research on themselves. And for AP research, you're able to create your own research that you take on by yourself, which I think is a great opportunity for students. Also, our school has one of the biggest AVID programs, which stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. It basically prepares students to be college ready. We also have where upperclassmen tutor underclassmen, and we also have volunteers from colleges that also tutor our tutorials, which I think is a great way for students to be exposed to tutoring groups, peer studying groups that are fairly common in college when studying. About over 700 of our students actually take AVID as well. And if you don't take AVID, because I took AVID freshman year, and it basically set a good foundation for my studying skills in the future. But I dropped out because it was a 4.0 scale. However, our school does offer, which I encourage every other school, a college career pathway center. And honestly, I, being the first person to graduate from high school in my family, as well being the first one to attain college, I had no idea or any knowledge on how to use the Common App or even just the basics of FAFSA. However, because of the college career center that we have at our school, I have been able to apply to universities like Harvard or Columbia, and wish me luck on those results. But I just think it's an amazing opportunity for students to really take and optimize the assets they have to future success here at Bogue Ciega.
And as well as how much our school and the AVID program prepares us for college readiness, our principal has actually pushed it further and has helped us with multiple college pathways that we get to take right after high school. And with that, we have over 90% of our graduation rates going to either a college, a university, or even a trade school. And one of the pathways that we have is one called PATH, and it allows a guaranteed admission from Bogue Ciega straight to USF, which is a great opportunity for those who really wanted to get into a university, but didn't exactly, just like Eileen with our career counseling, didn't exactly know how they could do that. And our principal, Mr. Vigu, has really gone his way and helped our students at Bogue Ciega, even post high school, get them ready for college or a university. Another pathway that we offer is something called FUSE, and that actually allows students at Bogue Ciega to go from Bogue to SPC, and then after 2 years go into USF. And I think that's really a great opportunity for those who want to take a little bit of a step back after high school and don't feel like they're really ready for the intensity level that a university has to offer, or even if they feel like they don't have the financial stability to go straight from a high school to a university. We also wanted to talk about our graduation success rate. In our recent years of 2020, even during this pandemic and everything that has happened, we have actually been able to get our graduation rate to 98%, of our students graduating Bocasiega. And that is crazy because it's actually our highest at Bocasiega High School in our history. And that is disregarding anything that comes into play, like subgroups, our ethnicities, or our gender. It really disregards that. It has an equal amount. Everyone has been able to graduate, boys and girls, and of all races. Speaking of that, we also wanted to talk about our culture at Bocasiega because it's really important to us. Our diversity here is extremely amazing, and I don't think you will really see it anywhere else. Something that we like to call this place is a really big melting pot. It has so many amazing different students, and in our two programs, our CDMP program and our fundamental program, you will not see any differences. We look, each classroom looks exactly the same. Everyone feels really comfortable in their own skin, and what we allow here at the school is really different than what you would see anywhere else.
I definitely say that that's probably one of the reasons why I think we both love Bocasiega, is because we just both feel really comfortable and
Will we be able to get them back? Okay. Well, while they continue, if you ever doubted whether Pinellas County has any choice options, I think they shared several of the options, and that's just from one school. So they're obviously very excited about what's going on there, and there's so many different things that the students can avail themselves of as they are getting an education. So we'll move on, and if we can get them back, then we will go to them whenever that happens. All right. They're gone. All right. Well, we'll thank them for what they did. They were able to share a lot of information in a short period of time while they were on with us virtually. All right, so we will move on to the next part of our agenda. Dr. Grego, are there any changes or amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, there's one amendment to the agenda, and that is under the consent agenda 7.4, the request approval of personnel recommendations, the addition on page 4 of Christina Rezatar's resignation. That concludes the amendments to the agenda.
Okay. And as chairman, I find good cause to amend the agenda to change item 7.4 for Ms. Christina Rezatar to be a resignation instead of what was listed. Okay, are there any board members that have any items that need to be pulled? All right, then we will move on. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
I motion to adopt.
Okay, Mrs. Long, do we have a second? Second. Okay, I'm going to go with Ms. Hine. And so we have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. And it passes unanimously. Good, thank you. We now have a presentation of the proclamation of National African American History Month, which is February 2021. Do we have a motion to adopt the proclamation? Okay, Ms. Hine. And the second is Ms. Long. All right, Dr. Grego?
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, I'm so proud to bring this proclamation of the National African American History Month to this board for approval and to describe many of the things that we do in our district to recognize and honor the African American history. Matt Bloom, our 9 through 12 social studies specialist, and also Hillary Van Dyke out of our professional development department is here to talk with the board.
Welcome.
Welcome. I guess welcome to me and you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. Pinellas County Schools celebrates the many achievements and contributions of local, state, and national African American figures throughout the year and during the month of February, National African American History Month. This is a time to highlight the struggles, successes, and contributions of the African American and Black community in the United States. The theme for African American History Month 2021 is the Black Family, Representation, Identity, and Diversity. According to the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, this theme can be explored through many disciplines such as history, literature, the visual arts and film studies, social anthropology, and social policy. Additional Black history curriculum resources are provided by the social studies and equity teams to all schools, as well as through the support of many community partnerships. Throughout the year, teachers and other school district staff receive support as well as develop and implement more equitable and culturally relevant instructional practices and resources related to African American history. This year, despite the pandemic, we have been able to offer rigorous training opportunities to continue this important work. Interest in learning more has grown, especially during this summer's events. In fact, we had over 1,000 participants in equity offerings. Pinellas County Schools teachers continue to show commitment to this work beyond February, as was evident by the 40-plus teachers who showed up for the Sunshine City Film Festival Equity and Excellence event that was on a Sunday this month.
Since 2015, the Commissioner of Education's African American History Task Force has recognized Pinellas County Schools as an exemplary school district for our work to maximize the integration of African American history into our curriculum and resources. To date, the approved exemplary status has only been awarded to 10 school districts in the state of Florida. As we continue our efforts to enhance instruction and learning around African American and Black history, we have continued our series of 2 monthly newsletters, the African American History Advocate and the Superheroes of Science, that showcase unknown people and events in history and science. We are also working with Everfi to allow teachers to complete the 306 African American History program as a PD opportunity. Black influence can be found at the core of American life, from science and academia to music and arts. This program allows teachers and students to explore Black history and the stories of strength, resilience, and achievement. These stories are foundational to building shared values and inspiring today's scholars to become future leaders. Our Principals Multicultural Advisory Committee, or PMACS, the liaisons and students are challenged to take the lead at the school level each February by promoting Black History Month through a variety of ways. And this year, a small group of teachers and PMACS students will be the first group participating in a new project-based learning activity around the Rose Cemetery, also known as the Rose Hill Cemetery, which was established in the early 1900s as a segregated cemetery in Pinellas County. It is also the oldest African American cemetery in our county. After a lesson that challenges students to evaluate the methods and meanings of memorials at the cemetery, students will create their own public memorial artwork for those with no known identities. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mrs. Long, would you please read the proclamation?
African American History Month, February 2021. Whereas during African American History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our academic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas in 1915, Dr. Carter Goodwin Woodson, noted Black scholar and son of a formerly enslaved parents, founded the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas Dr. Woodson initiated the Black History Week, February 12, 1926, and for many years, the second week of February, chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, was celebrated by African Americans in the United States. And whereas in 1976, as part of the nation's bicentennial, Black History Week was expanded, became established as African American History Month, and is now celebrated across North America. And whereas the observance of African American History Month calls our nation's attention to the continued need to battle racism and to build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals. The 2021 theme, The Black Family, Representation, Identity, and Diversity, offers a rich opportunity for exploring African Americans past and present. And now, therefore, the School Board of Pinellas County does hereby recognize February 2021 as African American History Month and urge all citizens to celebrate our diverse heritage and culture and continue our efforts to create a world that is more just, peaceful, and prosperous for all. Signed this 26th day of January 2021.
Good, thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, we have a motion by Ms. Hines, a second by Mrs. Long, to adopt the proclamation of the National African American History Month for February of 2021. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It passes 7-0. We now have a presentation of the proclamation recognizing February 2021 as Student Services Month. We have a motion? Okay, Mr. Dudley, do we have a second? Okay, Mrs. Edmond. Dr. Grego.
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members and the public, if you think about this end of last year and certainly this year, and you think about the importance of our student services, they're always important to us each and every year. But if I read some of their job titles, such as school counselors and nurses and social workers and psychologists and educational diagnosticians and prevention staff and crisis response members who work as a liaison between the schools and the families, you couldn't ask for a better time to stop and pause and to say thank you and to recognize our many, many professionals that serve in the student services department. And with that, I'd like to introduce Donna Sicilian, who is the executive director of our student services.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Grego, school board members and staff. And I greatly appreciate this opportunity to come before you and take a moment to recognize the work of our student services staff. And I appreciate so much, Dr. Grego, your inclusive introduction of all of us. I think it's important to note that each year in February across the country, it's designated as Student Services Month in an attempt to recognize and appreciate people that work so hard every single day of every single year. But as I was waiting in the lobby for my turn to speak to you, I was thinking about a year ago when I stood in front of this board and the staff and asked you to recognize our work at that time. I had absolutely no idea what the year would bring, but I think I probably could have told you, if you've given me a glimpse, that whatever it would have brought our team closer together, and they would have stood up, they would have stepped up, and they would have helped every single student, school member, staff, and family in our community. And that's exactly what has happened. We've seen them turn on a dime and put all of their very important services into a virtual world when they were called to do this. We are facing a second pandemic, and that's the mental health impact that this health pandemic is having on the entire country. And I can tell you without hesitation that the student services team that you employ here in Pinellas County Schools have been leaders, they have been innovative, they have been hardworking, and they truly deserve this year more than any other to be recognized. So I ask you to join me in recognizing them and approving the proclamation before you designating February as Student Services Month. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Mrs. Edmond, would you please read the proclamation?
Student Services Month. Whereas each and every school day, school counselors, nurses, social workers, and school psychologists, whom we call student services professionals, work together to assist students in acquiring the knowledge, skills, and competencies to make well-reasoned and healthy lifelong decisions. And whereas it is important to recognize that academic performance is impacted by developmental factors and school and community factors. And whereas research demonstrates the value in providing supportive programs and services in order to increase student achievement, the services provided by student service personnel enables the students to learn and the teachers to teach and strengthens the bond between families and schools. And whereas we acknowledge that the student services professionals have the necessary knowledge, skills, and abilities to reduce barriers to learning and assist classroom teachers, parents, and community agencies in providing a safe and positive learning environment for all children. And whereas we realize that student service professionals contribute to the educational success and personal development of all students. Whereas we realize that student service professionals provide services directly to teachers, parents, and to the community. They also serve as a resource to school improvement teams to facilitate school improvement plans. Now, therefore, the School Board of Pinellas County does hereby recognize the month of February as Student Services Month for Pinellas County Schools and appreciates the significant contributions made by school counselors, school nurses, school social workers, and school psychologists. Signed this 26th day of January 2021.
Good, thank you. Board members, is there any discussion? All right, seeing none. We have a motion by Mr. Dudley, a second by Mrs. Edmond, to adopt the proclamation recognizing February 2021 as Student Services Month. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no, and it passes 7-0. We'll now move to the recognition of the 2020-21 Student Services Employee of the Year Award. Dr. Grego?
Yeah, Madam Chair, it's become somewhat of a tradition that Donna Sicilian brings right after that proclamation our Student Services Employee of the Year Award. So let me turn it over to her and enjoy the celebration.
Okay, thank you again, Dr. Grego, school board members and staff. It is my great honor we started this about 7 years ago. As you're aware, our student service staff are instructional staff. So to have our own recognition became evident. And so we decided that we would institute Student Service Employee of the Year. They're nominated by their peers, by their principals, by families, and a team of their own colleagues chooses from the applications who will be the Student Service Employee of the Year. And that person goes above and beyond in a way that represents what we talked about just a few minutes ago, how every single counselor, psychologist, social worker, nurse, every student service employee steps up and does more than what the job would be expected to do. And so I'm going to present to you tonight Erica McKnight and her family. And Erica is a school psychologist. She's been with us over 9 years. She was chosen by her colleagues because she goes above and beyond on many different levels. She is incredibly supportive to new psychologists, new staff at her school. She goes out of her way to institute services for students and for families. She started a pre-K room at Curlew Creek, where she is the school psychologist this year, and her principal, Kathy Brickley, is here to recognize her as well. In addition, she has done a lot of training throughout the district to teachers and to community members. She does youth mental health first aid training, trauma-informed care training. Anytime we have an opportunity for someone to become a train the trainer, Erica steps up. She serves her community well, even outside the school walls. She started a team of school psychologists that adopted a mile. Is it 1 mile or more? It's a mile on the Pinellas Trail. So I was out on my bike one day riding, and I had to hit the brake because there's this big sign that says this mile is kept clean by Pinellas County school psychologists. So, and I found out that Ms. McKnight was behind that as well. So I think it's important to note that everything that she has done is representative of the work that we talked about earlier that all of our team and all of our staff do. So thank you in joining me in congratulating Erica. We have this beautiful plaque and all these flowers, and so. You want to say something?
Thank you so much. This is truly an honor, but the biggest honor is working for such a great district like Pinellas County and working side by side with great colleagues and great supervisors like Michael Calley and Donna Sicilian, because they make my job so much easier. So thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. And while we may be able to give you a standing ovation, we're not jumping for joy like your son is. So we do thank you for everything that you do, and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is for public comment on agenda items.
Board members and Dr. Grego, we have no speakers for specific agenda items this evening.
All right, thank you very much. Then we will move to our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to accept?
I motion to accept the consent agenda.
Okay, so we have Mrs. Long made a motion to approve, and Mr. Dudley, second. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no, and it passes 7-0. Thank you very much. We now move to non-consent. Request approval to apply for the second hardening grant for July 1st, 2020 through January 31st, 2023 for $1,445,255. We have a motion? Okay, Ms. Hines moves approval. Do we have a second? Okay. We'll do Ms. Kane. I saw her hand first. Dr. Grego.
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, I think it's so important that you, our general public, continues to see the efforts that we're making, and this board has made over decades of safety measures to our school district and safety councils that this board has had in place far before even any of the tragedies across the United States. And so I always want to say thank you to this board and board members prior to you for what you're doing, but I also think it's very important to keep abreast of the things that we are currently doing through some of the state and federal grant funds that are coming to our state. And Mr. Herbeck is overseeing those, and I thought it'd be wise to take a few moments to just explain some of the things that these particular grant dollars are purchasing, and to continue to keep our schools as safe as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Grego. Madam Chair, board members, thank you for this item tonight. And one thing I do want to share, as Dr. Grego said, this is, we use the term grant for this, but it's actually an annual allocation that the legislature has provided ever since the tragedy at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the legislature for continuing to provide these funds, not only for our district, but for districts across the state as well. One of the requirements of securing this allocation is to put in a grant and to show a need and to show other things that the district has done, both prior and what we plan to do in the future to make our schools more safe and more secure. One of the things also after the tragedy at Stoneman Douglas, the legislature formed the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Commission. Not only did they investigate the incident, but they also made recommendations to school districts on how to make campuses more safe and secure moving forward. And in their recommendations, they suggested that districts follow a 4-tier strategy. And those tiers started off as a tier 1, as you can imagine, the lowest level tier. Very simple, very, in some cases, in most cases, I should say, actually inexpensive and quick remedies to put in place if the district hadn't already done so, to make sure campuses are secure. And in tier 1, just a couple of examples of strategies that they suggested was to implement a policy to make sure that all visitors signed in. They also suggested that all schools install locks and to keep doors locked when students are present. That tier 1 expands to tier 2 strategies, where sometimes they're a little bit more complicated. They may take a little bit more time to implement. In some cases, again, they may take a little bit more funding to put in place. But a couple of examples of tier 2 strategies are to create fenced-in campuses with a single point of entry, and to make sure that all campuses have video coverage throughout the campus. I mentioned those tier 1 and tier 2s, and I can see some head shaking, because we go back, as Dr. Grego said, some of these were in place 20 years ago in Pinellas County schools. And some of you, whether you were a board member at the time, or a parent, or a teacher, or maybe even a student or recent graduate, you can remember at that time that some of these things that this school board did back in around the year 2000 weren't so popular at the time. Creating single point of access or single point of entry, and even requiring visitors to sign in weren't as popular at the time as they are now. And so again, commend the board for stepping forward all those years ago to put those policies and procedures in place. That work from starting 20 years ago really has enabled us to take the funds, this allocation from the legislature, and start applying Tier 3 and Tier 4 strategies across the district. And again, a couple of examples of Tier 3 strategies. Again, we're talking about building upon things that are already in place. And again, the same kind of process goes forward. Tier 3 and Tier 4 strategies both require, in most cases, extra funding and longer lengths of time to implement or install. But a couple of Tier 3 strategies, for example, are to install window protection on classroom, especially classroom doors, and to put in a system or implement a system of lockdown messaging with an automatic alert to police agencies in case there is an emergency on campus to make sure first responders are able to respond quickly. Tier 4 strategies include significant, in most cases, significant funding challenges. They include things, ironically, like, and again, it's ironic that the commission mentioned this, to replace portable buildings with permanent classrooms. Mm-hmm. And I say that's ironic because just yesterday we were at North Shore Elementary School and celebrating 10 schools are going to get a permanent building instead of portables. And we also, another Tier 4 strategy that I wanted to mention is to make sure that schools ensure that there's radio communication capabilities for all first responders across campuses. Now, while we have not used any of these funds for this grant or this allocation to build a permanent building, these funds have allowed us to take those funds, our capital outlay funds, and direct them to buildings. And over the last 2 years, we've actually received $4.9 million from this allocation. And those last 2 years, in other words, the first 2 years of the grant, we have been able to, as a school district, we have installed window protection on all of our classroom doors. We will conclude with an upgrade to our intercom system by August. And so every classroom and every school in the district will have what we call IP or Internet Protocol speakers that allow two-way communication. It will even allow Chief Williams, whether he's from schools police or an outside agency, to speak to people inside the school over those speakers from a remote access. And also what we have been doing is we've been expanding our keyless access control. We used to have it just on the outside of the building, and now we're moving that in closer, and with the goal of making sure that every single classroom in the district, as well as office spaces, have keyless access control, which is much safer, much more readily accessible to by law enforcement. They wouldn't have to have a key to get into a place. We could just give them control through the access control. These funds that we are applying for in this year, again, it's about, we do share a portion of it with our charter schools. Mm-hmm. So about the $1.3 million that we will receive from this, we are targeting that to make sure that every single one of our schools has the proper radio communication for our first responders. And to make sure that whether they're EMTs or fire or police, that once they get into our buildings, their radios work, and that there's no interference from the building, keeping those first responders from communicating with each other. So again, I thank the legislature. I thank you as a board for putting those measures into place as far ago or long ago as 20 years ago to allow us to use these funds on these special enhancements that really do greatly enhance the safety and security of our campuses.
Very good. Thank you. So I see that no one's requesting. Okay, Dr. Carr?
Thank you. Mr. Herbeck, I just want to commend you for the work not only ensuring the safety of our students under the influence of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act, but also, to borrow a word we hear a lot, pivoting so much during COVID to really address all of the operational concerns related to that while still maintaining the concerns with safety, because oftentimes they're contrary to one another, wanting things to be open and airy, but closed and safe. So I really appreciate the tremendous amount of thought and work and your reaching out to other experts to gather more input on how to complete those tasks, which sometimes seem to conflict with one another. And this grant is another example of the progress we'll continue to make to keep our students safe. So I really commend you. Your job it's so robust, right? There are so many different aspects to it and so many areas that you oversee. And when we think about the most foundational piece that parents expect for us, it's keeping their children safe. And the work that you do really ensures that that takes place. So thank you for your hard work.
And thank you. And I will share your words with the rest of our team, with Chief Williams and Dennis Russo and the rest of our safety security team. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Dudley?
Great job. As you know, I'm a big fan of yours and what you've accomplished and what you've, safety in our schools is phenomenal, I think. My question is, the grant, is that, or the allocation, is that same amount every year, or does that fluctuate, or?
It has fluctuated. I don't have the number right in front of me. The first year was a little over $3 million, and then it was cut about in half in year 2, and then just slightly less than that in year 3.
So I mean, it's a good chance it's going to be over $1 million every year?
Well, we would hope.
Would hope, okay. Yeah, I know the word grant scares me because, I know how that goes. But, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All righty, good, thank you. All right, so we have a motion by Ms. Hine and a second by Mrs. Kane to approve to apply for the school hardening grant July 1st, 2020 through January 31st, 2023, $1,445,255. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no, and it passes 7-0. Our next item is the approval of the amendment to the school board attorney employment agreement with David Kapersky. Do we have a motion? Okay, Ms. Kane and Ms. Long did the second. Mr. Kapersky.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members, for the opportunity to introduce this item. You have on the table in front of you a recommendation to extend my employment contract and to revise renewal provisions. In 2012, I was given the privilege to be appointed as your school board attorney, and so I respectfully request that the board approve this item so we may continue with that good work.
Thank you. All right, board members? I will say you've had outstanding evaluations for the past several years, and so I think it would be well advised for us to continue. I know it's very difficult to even find attorneys that have the experience that you have in education law. So I appreciate it, and thank you very much for what you do for us. You keep us out of trouble. That's good. All right, so anyone else? All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Kane. We have a second by Mrs. Long to amend the school board attorney employment agreement with David Kapersky. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. It passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Now we request approval of a location change for the February 23rd, 2021 school board meeting. We have a motion. Mrs. Long, and a second. Dr. Carr. Dr. Grego, would you like to share with us why we're asking for this change?
Sure. Board members, as you remember that during our last workshop, we had a discussion, and to your credit, this board has moved out into the community to serve a couple of different purposes. One is to gather the community into and make it more accessible to you and bring people into our schools. And I hope we continue that process. The discussion during the last workshop was that during this time of attempting to keep our schools safe and everyone inside of our schools, including ourselves and our parents and others, that whereas seeing the school is one thing, and we certainly want to continue to encourage the board to visit our schools, especially some of our newer project schools. We were scheduled to go up to Tarpon Springs to see the Leadership Conservatory and the tremendous work that we've done there. I certainly hope we can just postpone that visit and go there, because I've been there, and maybe several of you perhaps have been. It's an outstanding facility, outstanding program, and whereas that school and the parents and community would love to converge into that school to celebrate that. The board is, and I agree with, thinks very wisely that it'd be a better postponement for a few months at least, and we'll, what's that term you use, Dr. Carr? We'll, conditions pending,
Right,
or conditions?
yeah. Conditions permit.
Permit, and I think it's a wise choice. So that's, this item is to change that location back to this setting with future school visits. So thank you.
Very good. Any discussion? All right, we had discussion at our workshop, so I think we already had the opportunity to explore this and what was the best way to move forward. So we have a motion by Mrs. Long, and we have a second by Dr. Carr. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. And we will have our February 23rd meeting here at the administration building. All right, items introduced by the superintendent.
Yes, Madam Chair and School Board and to the public, I want to start my comments out this evening with a recognition of our school chair. I'll hold up this plaque, and it was not many things are kept as secret as this, but Mrs. Cook was named at the Florida Music Educators of the Year Award as a school board, outstanding school board member. This is quite an honor to be brought back into Pinellas County. It's a great organization. I thought they were going to show a slide, but perhaps they did, and I just didn't see it, of Mrs. Cook. There you go. You can certainly recognize, even behind a mask, Jean Reynolds.
Thank you. Thank you.
Megan Alfaro, a music teacher at Northwest Elementary School, nominated Mrs. Cook on behalf of the Florida Educational Music Educators Association. And in her application, Mrs. Cook has stood in strong support of the arts, over 20 years of service on the Pinellas County School Board, and her hard work was instrumental in passing the original Pinellas County Schools tax referendum in 2004. And under Mrs. Cook's school board tenure, music and the performing arts and visual arts have become a part of the district's not only strategic plan but core curriculum. So Mrs. Cook, we collectively congratulate you for representing not only Pinellas County but the arts, and what a great honor this is. So congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
My second item was highlighted during our videos, and I too just want to say thank you to all of our schools for the outstanding job, our communications department. I can thank so many people for what I believe to be just over the top in terms of what we envisioned. I know we set out, and there was a little op-ed piece I wrote to the editor of the Times, and I said, if there's ever a time to celebrate teachers, let's do it this year. And let's call for over 20,000 people to just hit the pause button and truly watch and in this community celebrate the teachers of our district. Well, I can say to you that there were probably, and I know you may be thinking I'm exaggerating, but there was over 12,000 unique links for Facebook and YouTube. So even at 3 or 4 people per link, we were well over the 20,000. We're probably over 40,000 people in this community, not only in this community, but throughout the United States, of extended family and friends and relatives of not only, as you saw, the separate teacher lounges that they were named for the 10 finalists, but all of our nominees are teachers of the year and for their schools. So I just want to say thank you. Mrs. Painter holds a Bachelor's of Science in Education from the University of South Florida. Go Bulls. We're doing a lot of work with their College of Education. I'm very proud of the progress we're making, by the way, and a Master's in Curriculum and Instruction from the University of Florida. And she's in her 18th year of teaching. And I could say to you that her message of finding joy resonated with many, many people that evening and the next day. That's all I heard, and for the tens of thousands of people watched it, I think your message was so timely and so impactful to this community. Whether you're an educator or not, find joy. I also want to say that I'm very proud and thank Ms. Texel and her whole department for developing the emerging teacher of the year that we celebrated. And these are teachers that have been with us for a second or third year of teaching. And Courtney Chavez from the Sanderlin K-8 IB World School and Patricia Wing of John Hopkins Middle Schools were the elementary and secondary emerging teachers of the year. And what a great celebration. And you know, it sparks the fuel of our teachers with just a few years of experience into that. So I want to also say thank you to Dr. Byer, Stacy Byer, who the foundation actually puts on in partnership with the school district, all of the sponsors, all of the prizes, all of those things. Dr. Byer does a great job. In fact, I just learned this morning that if you look at the screen too, I apologize for looking up, but Dr. Byer, I didn't know she was doing this, but she secured through Clear Channel 3 to 4 sites throughout this community celebrating teachers, and you'll see this. So when you're driving, just slow down. Don't steer off the road. Just slow down and take a look. That's huge, and that's going to be distributed. That's going to be displayed throughout our community. So very happy and pleased that we were able to celebrate teachers, and also to our partners at Aetna, who are the major sponsors that evening. So thank you to all our professional development department, strategic communications, long hours on top of everything else that everything needs to be videotaped, everything needs to be placed online, including this board meeting, including workshops, including everything that we're doing. We're working so hard to celebrate our folks. So thank you so much for a fabulous and successful evening. Let's hope next year we take a little bit of both, but we can meet in person too. Also want to say thank you to the County Commission and the Tarpon Springs Dr. Martin Luther King event for the Scholarship Foundation for inviting me specifically in both those venues to continue on, even though parades were canceled and breakfasts were held remote, that we didn't lose the importance of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration on that day, that weekend, or even as we celebrate Black History Month in February, as you heard from our speakers today. I also want to express that, as many of you know, that our Pinellas County Schools hosted a very, very successful bond issue event. And the 2021 COPS bond was issued last Thursday. Raymond James acted as the lead underwriter for the pricing, and Ford and Associates acted as a financial advisor, with Neighbors Giblin as a bond counsel. And there was a virtual presentation through Teams, of course, right? What's not done through either Teams or Zoom today. And we had approximately 200 students from Northeast High School's Academy of Finance participating. And the presentation involved Jerry Ford and Will Reed of Ford and Associates and Rick Patterson of Raymond James, who spoke about the process as well as the career opportunities in the field of finance to our students. We also had guest speakers from different parts of the country, and this you couldn't do if we weren't virtual. But Nisha Rahan, an analyst from New York local government's rating team with Moody's Investment Services, who provided one of our ratings for this issue. Carolyn Cruz, a portfolio manager in the municipal group of Lowe's Corporation Investment Department, and Mark Kim, who are Chief Executive Officer for Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, all spoke to our students for the job opportunities in finance and their own personal career paths that they took. The bonding itself went very, very well. Bonds were sold, and the proceeds of, as this board knows, $75.5 million at a interest rate of what the Ford and Associates tell us is the lowest interest rate that they've ever seen in the history of the state of Florida, of 1.601%. And due to such great ratings that this school district has, to experience that type of interest rate is phenomenal. So we're very pleased with everything that's happened. We will have closing, will occur next Tuesday. Mrs. Cook, as the president of the leasing corporation, you and I will sign those papers and be on our way with our construction projects. So that is great news for this school district in terms of our financial wherewithal, the strength of this district financially, and our ability to take advantage of that. Also, at the time of bringing thanks to many members of the community, I also want to reach out and say, and as I have personally, to Dr. Yuli Cho, who's the head of our Department of Health, who has also experienced a year like never before in terms of being the head of the Chief of Department of Health. He provided us and all of our eligible employees of 65 years or older vaccines that if they so chose to take advantage of that. I want to again thank our team, our communications team, Jennifer Dull and everyone in TIS and everyone, because we set up that, our school district set up that scheduling that I received so many compliments for, in terms of being able to, if you worked in our district, you were contracted services, you coached for us, you were a substitute teacher for us, you taught, you administrator, anybody that if you didn't have a badge, we'll give you a badge if you worked with us. And the scheduling went so smooth in terms of that, so thank you. We had over 650 people registered and were vaccinated almost within the first few days. So thank you to Dr. Cho, thank you to the Department of Health, and we'll continue to push for that, you know, the same type of service as the state allows for the rest of our employees of the school district. You know, board members, you know my push and my persistence on this issue, and we'll continue to certainly do that. With that, though, I want to also say that as a school district, we're working very hard to continue to add safety, as we have this theme of safety today, but safety and protections in place to provide, and that is to ensure our principals and our teachers and everything, the supplies that Mr. Herbeck has in the warehouse, and how easy it is to just request those things and they'll be delivered that day. Cloth masks, face masks, plexiglass, gloves, scrubs, for many of our ESE self-contained centers. Those are the supplies that we wanted to go above and beyond. In addition, Mr. Herbeck's done a great job with the filter and the filtration of our classrooms. I want him to just speak a few minutes about that, and I'm going to ask Ms. Texel to talk a little bit about what our Category 1 and 2 teachers, because our Human Resources Department have been working tirelessly to try to accommodate every single employee that we can, and we are trying so hard to do. So Mr. Herbeck, and then Ms. Texel.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Grego. And as Dr. Grego said, we have a whole warehouse, not necessarily full of just supplies for personal protection, but we do have enough disinfectant, we have enough masks, we have enough face shields, plexiglass, to answer any request. And so I do urge teachers that if they do hear the message that we can't get something, to make sure their HPO or their school bookkeeper or even the principal calls the warehouse. We have it, and we've even had people at the end of the day put things in their own private cars and drive out to school and drop it off on their way home, just to make sure people had what they needed the next morning. So again, please take advantage of our own warehouse before, again, people go out and buy things on their own. As Dr. Grego said, the air filters obviously is a concern anytime you have an airborne virus such as we have now. And I think one of the things that we talked to you about before school started was the air filtration system, and in fact our whole ventilation system. And before I talk specifically about the filters, I just wanted to share again that our schools are designed, our HVAC systems are designed to make sure that we have continuous fresh air exchange. That's different than a lot of places in other parts of the country. And so sometimes when you see suggestions coming from whether it's the CDC or other experts, they talk about kind of things in generalities where a lot of schools have what we call the window knockers. They have the air conditionings that you put into a window that don't necessarily have fresh air exchange. Our buildings are designed for that, and we have fresh air exchange in all of our classrooms about every 30 minutes. One thing that we do, and we've instructed all of our HPOs, and in fact our partners with Synergistic monitor this, is at the end of the night, when cleaning is done in a building, we make sure that we run 2 fresh air exchanges after that, just to make sure that the room has been disinfected and to make sure that there are, again, 2 whole cycles of fresh air in those rooms. And then again in the morning, and then remember, the room will be locked overnight. Nobody is going into that. But in the morning, before anybody shows up, the first thing that the HPO has been instructed to do is to turn on that air conditioning again. And again, 2 fresh air cycles before anybody enters that building. So it's important that those things be monitored and again, that our HPOs and our staff make sure that those things are happening. As for the filters themselves, again, what we shared with you and we shared with PCTA as well is that the standard right now, the acceptable standard is what's called an MERV 13 filter. Most schools in America, including ours, our school district, have not designed their systems to accept a MERV 13 filter. It's a very thick filter. It'd be like trying to push something or blow something through a straw that just doesn't fit. And one of the things that we were concerned about is if we had to put in MERV 13 filters, that we wouldn't get any fresh airflow. It would take away and greatly diminish the fresh air exchange that I just talked about. And so one of the things that we did is right away is we started working with our filter manufacturer, our suppliers, and also again with our partners at Synergistic, trying to find something that we could put in place that's going to make sure that the fresh air exchange is still working and to make sure that we have a MERV 13 or equivalent type of protection and filtering process in place. And what we did find is something called a dual 9 filter. And all of our air handling units in the vast majority, I'd say 99.9% of our rooms, they have 2 filter system. Even before COVID-19, all of our air handlers had 2 filters in them. They had a MERV 11 and a MERV 8. And the MERV 8 acted as a pre-filter, the MERV 11 acted as the final filter. We found out, and research showed that the dual 9 filter, if we take out the MERV 8 and put in the dual 9, that dual 9 combined with a MERV 11 filter equals the filtering capacity and the efficiency of a MERV 13. And so we've had those installed, our HPOs. We reached out to them and made sure that they ordered the appropriate number of dual 9 filters for all of the air handlers on their campus. Those were all installed, most of them in August and September. There were a couple installed later in September due to some ordering issues that we had and supply issues at the time. We're actually right now ordering all of those again. These MERV, the dual 9 filters last about 9 months. So we're ordering them right now. We're making sure that we have them in supply because there may be some rooms that will need them before the 9 months is up, but we definitely want to have those and have those not only on hand but also installed before the current dual 9 filters lose their effectiveness. And again, what I would suggest again to our teachers, if they do have concerns about the filtering process, they probably all know their HPO. Go talk to them. You know, the HPOs all keep a log on campus of when they exchange filters, so there's something called a filter log on campus. They are also supposed to check the condition of filters every single month, and our department in maintenance works with them to make sure that they are doing that. But again, any concerns from the school level, start off with your HPO, and if you need additional help, please don't hesitate to call.
Go ahead. Thank you.
And good
Ms.
evening.
Tetzel?
Good evening. Thank you so much for letting us share some information today. And I'm going to talk specifically about 2 items. The first and foremost are our teachers and our employees that we've been working with this year to make sure that we have provided the proper PPE and any accommodations that we could make for them, we have been working on doing. One of the, moving into second semester, we knew that as we were addressing the number of students returning to the schools, we needed to address the learning environment and the teaching, virtual versus face-to-face, and what that would look like in our schools. So our HR staff has been working very diligently, I think all year, but really over the last month with our Category 1 and our Category 2 teachers, as well as the administrators of those teachers at their schools. And one thing we wanted to make sure that we were doing is notifying them of any adjustments that might need to be made at the school based on our master schedule requirements and the number of students returning, as I said. So they spent some time talking with those teachers, feeling out their comfort level of returning. Everyone is unique. It is not a one-size-fits-all. And so we have been taking case by case and talking with teachers and working through that process. Once the information was returned about students, we were then able to have a clearer picture on what the need was of returning to face-to-face or remaining virtual. And so the administrators then confirmed that with those teachers. And so if the teacher was able to remain virtual, they continued on with what they were doing since the beginning of the school year. And just as a little piece of information, our Category 1 teachers, 60% of our Category 1 teachers are remaining virtual. Our Category 2 teachers, remember those are those 65-plus teachers, 75% of them are remaining virtual. So they're continuing on and doing the great job that they're doing, and we appreciate all the work they're doing. We did have some situations where we needed to bring back some of those Category 1 and Category 2 teachers, and because of the need at the school. That numbers, we had about a third, so we had about 33% of our Category 1 teachers that needed to be returning, and just about 15% of our Category 2 teachers that needed to be returning. But we knew we needed to provide some additional accommodations for them. I know Dr. Grego mentioned the face masks and so forth, but we know that in order for them to come back and feel comfortable, we needed to do a little bit more. Not only do we have plexiglass, but we have the availability of a 3-sided plexiglass for those teachers. Not only masks, cloth masks, but we are providing surgical masks for those teachers, enough to remain for the rest of the school year. And those are the blue ones, the disposables. And then face shields, not just face shields, but face shields with glasses. Those were recommended to us by the medical community there, that would be a good idea. And also, one thing we talked to our administrators about is look at your rooms in your buildings. Is there a larger room that those teachers could go to make sure that the spacing out was acceptable and so forth. So those are just some of those things that we had those discussions with the teachers. And again, as Mr. Herbeck mentioned, again, they request that additional PPE, and I'll tell you within 48 hours it's there at the school. And if it's not, let us know. We will get that there, as Mr. Herbeck was saying. We also recognize, though, the concerns regarding simultaneous teaching, and that's always been something we've been working on as well. I know the administrators are working on that, as how can we reduce the number of simultaneous teaching. Through this conversation, we have reduced some of the simultaneous. It's not all, but I want to give you just an example through this discussion that we've had with our teachers, and again, it's case by case, school by school. So the time that this has taken has been needed and very appreciated, and we're doing that. But an example would be, we did have, for example, a teacher who really did not feel comfortable returning face-to-face, but we had in that subject area, we had a displaced teacher who, for whatever reason, that school was losing that unit. They were fine to go back face-to-face. So we actually were able to do a transfer, put that person in the face-to-face. We looked at a school that had a lot of virtual students. We were able to assign that person, that Category 1 teacher, to that position. Again, it took away the simultaneous need at that school. So we're trying to look at, can't do that across the board, but if it works, we're going to do that. But that's what I'm talking about, doing case by case. And so it's been a lot of discussion, and the discussions continue, and will continue through the year. But the last area I want to just talk about is our COVID team and the support that they are continuing to provide to all of our employees in the district. We are working feverishly on trying to reduce the time that it takes to notify those that are involved in a quarantine. We recognize that it's something on our plate, and we are addressing that. We have brought in that Department of Health staff member who is sitting on our team right now. That has helped with that. We also just last week started implementing where we are working with that staff member, working with our team to do a little bit more of that contact tracing at the elementary sites, because it is more of a self-contained situation, and we can make those decisions quicker, and we can go ahead and do that. So that was a lot of discussion and a lot of going back and forth with the Department of Health, and we appreciate their support with that as well. The team continues to assist employees who are unable to work due to COVID-related situations relating to quarantine or sickness. And as you know, the federal emergency paid sick leave and the family medical leave portions of the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act was not extended, but we felt as a district very important to take care and make sure that our employees had that ability to still utilize those sick hours. So we are continuing to allow up to 80 hours of that paid sick leave for those specific situations with quarantine issues or illness. The team is ready, it's available, it continues to work with our employees, and that would be the message I would like to get out today, is that if anytime an employee in the district has a question, all they need to do is contact that team, and they are going to work and get a response to them. And they are hopefully very timely, but I've heard some good results from that. So that would be the message too that I would like to share today. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Texel, and thank you, board members, for allowing me to just bring you up to date with the work that we're doing on a day-to-day basis as we're continuing with the full operation of the school. Let me also finish my comments with a tremendous thanks to our North Shore groundbreaking and the emphasis that we were located in one place, and I know that. It was an important place, and celebrate North Shore, but it was also 9 other schools in Nona, Bowder, Gulf Beaches, Pasadena, Fundamental School, Plum, Sanderlin, K8, Sawgrass, Seminole, and Shore Acres for a total, and I'm not sure I mentioned this, but all of those projects together is $43.5 million that will eliminate and have eliminated, will eliminate just those projects, about approximately 100 portables in our school district with, as I mentioned yesterday, a total of, since we've started this journey about 8 years ago, about 500 portables. And I sometimes try to vision what 500 portables look like. I remember looking at Palm Harbor University with 47 portables, and I couldn't believe it, but if 500 portables would take up a tremendous amount. So it is a better environment, it's a safer environment, but it's also the right environment for our students and our teachers and our staff too. And so I just want to say thank you. All of these things tie in, the bonding, the work, all of these things tie into one another. They all are so related. But what a great celebration, even though it was great to see people. I think everyone wanted to come out just to be around. We were really spread out. I want to thank the mayor and everyone who showed up yesterday. Thank you to we had 5 board members there yesterday. So wow, what a showing. So thank you so much. I want to also encourage a couple. I always said I want to bring student stuff and parent stuff in this time, in this era. But we have our Title I parent survey out that we could tremendously encourage our Title I schools, families, and parents that we really do want to hear from you. And so it's online. It's an online survey. It's open till February 11th. We are communicating with families, and it's pcsb.org/Title I. And it's a very quick and easy survey, but we as a district always want to hear and gain your feedback. Also want to do, there's 2 online events this week for parents. The FAFSA, as you heard the young lady, what an impressive, I want her marketing our district. I mean, what an impressive review of the FAFSA, but there's be a FAFSA Live, and that's tomorrow. January 27th at 7 p.m. We did one already with a few hundred students. We want to continue to promote that. And also, the Midtown Academy Center for Literacy Innovation, the information session is going to be held on Thursday, January 28th at 7 p.m. That's a Facebook Live event where staff will be giving live presentations, answering questions via Facebook. And these sessions have been really well received for people and families to share it at home, be able to ask questions, and we're certainly learning a new way of doing things. And some of these are very, very effective ways of engaging our families and answering questions and really including being far more inclusive. My last comment is one of thanks, and that is the thanks to Mr. Bob Poth and Mr. Ward Kennedy for their years of dedicated service. As you know, I also just truly cherish the time that I've had to work with both of these fine gentlemen as our roles in our leadership team. And I wish them the very best and healthy retirement. They certainly deserve it after the many years of hard work and dedicated service to our school district. And at the same time, I want to thank the board and congratulate Dr. Dwayne Hines and Dr. Kristen Gonzalez for their new roles. Then thank you, board, for voting. They have a huge job ahead of them, and I certainly look forward to working with those 2 fine individuals. So that concludes my comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very good, thank you. Now we move to items introduced by the board attorney.
I have nothing to report this evening other than to express my gratitude to the board for your vote this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, items introduced by the board. If you have something, please push your request to speak button. Okay, Mrs. Edmond?
We've heard so many great things that are occurring in our district from North Shore, the groundbreaking that resonated to 10 other schools as well. I would like to highlight the fact that P-TECH nursing practitioner pinning ceremony occurred this month, where students who completed over 1,300 hours of coursework are now nurse practitioners. So that's something to celebrate, more people entering the nursing profession. And it's also a great time to highlight that since it's now Student Services Month as well. Also at Studio 620, Journeys in Journalism Through Our Eyes, Midtown and Beyond, that's occurring. That includes Melrose Elementary, John Hopkins Middle School, Lakewood High School scholars. And the last date to attend that exhibit is January 30th. I would like to thank all the sponsors and people that are supporting the journalism program. And I also like to highlight Nina Harris. I went out there to learn more about seclusion and restraints occurring in Pinellas County, and they have 0 seclusion and restraints, and most of that is attributed to the piloting of Yukuru, and that program will be used at the other 4 centers, so that's phenomenal.
Thank you.
And again, thank you to all of our staff that are working hard to meet the needs of students, scholars, students and families, as well as our educators. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Mrs. Long?
I just want to thank our Dunedin students that are about to speak to us. You know, we talk about mental health. Well, the kids today in our high schools, they're taking charge of their lives. They're starting to realize that the times are changing, things are different. And I want to applaud all of our students in Pinellas County that are thinking outside the box and helping us adults figure out where to go from here. It's really important. Donna Sicilian's still here. You know, we talk about mental health. The beginning of the news report this morning was a school district in California that had 19 suicides in one semester. You just think, whoa, we are doing a great job in this district with our kids, and we're helping them through the most difficult time any of us have ever seen. I don't think any of us could compare this pandemic to anything we've been through. But it's amazing, you know, to see young people stepping up and being part of this. And I think that it shows that they're listening to their teachers, they're interacting with the adults, and they're coming forth with some great things. So thank you.
All right, good, thank you. Anyone else? I don't see. All right. With that, are there any items for the board to review or our request?
No, Madam Chair, I did not record any items tonight.
Very good, thank you. All right, we will do our board evaluation after the public participation portion. So at this point, if there is no objection, this meeting is adjourned. We will now move on to the public comment. Do we have speakers? Okay, before you call them, we do have speakers.
Board
Okay.
members and
No, before you call their names, I'd like to read.
Yes,
a
we
piece.
do have speakers under general public comments.
Okay, good, thank you. During the public comment, board members are here to listen to you. This is not a time for discussion or debate. We will not take any formal action on information brought forward unless it's pertaining to an agenda item. However, the board and the superintendent may refer you to the proper staff or the person that will help you through your concerns. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in the conduct of our meetings. Please assist us in maintaining a civil and constructive environment by confining your comments to the business of the district and refrain from any intemperate or rude comments. Thank you. So, Mrs. Simonetti.
Board members and Dr. Grego, we have 4 speakers signed up. Our first is Nancy Velarde.
Okay. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Throughout our recent conversations with the district about strengthening safety measures for the second semester, it has been repeatedly suggested that teachers should be having ongoing and collaborative discussions with their site administrators regarding those protections. While this sounds like an excellent way to resolve individual issues, there are obstacles to this method. Employees are uncomfortable and afraid to initiate conversation with the school administrators. They fear being yelled at, intimidated, or humiliated if they have requests beyond that which the principal is already providing. Retaliation comes in many forms, and these are actively occurring in some of our schools. While this is not true of every location, this disturbing trend is becoming more widespread in reports to PCTA, in which members plead to remain anonymous. I brought this concern to you, and I've offered PCTA's help in rectifying the strained relations between employees and management. I shared a survey that showed over 70% of the employees indicate they would work elsewhere if they could. This is an escalating problem which impedes cooperation while ensuring every person remains safe. The atmosphere of intimidation, threat, and punitive action only adds to the tremendous strain under which our teachers are performing their duties. They have been asked to teach face-to-face students and virtual students simultaneously, tolerate a flawed platform for virtual learning that adds many hours to their day, and to do all of this in classrooms that are becoming more populated during a dangerous pandemic. They are showing grace to the students who are also enduring some of these additional stressors, but not receiving the same for themselves from administrators. They are striving to provide a quality education under difficult circumstances. Teachers have been told to quit or retire if they are uncomfortable with the circumstances in the schools. They have been threatened with OPS for minor alleged infractions. They're put on lists for removal by principals. They are denied basic supports when they're new to the profession. Placing a beginning teacher on a success plan before assigning a mentor or giving any helpful guidance is no way to retain those who long to teach. We cannot afford to have our educators abandon this profession that they love. We should be nurturing all of our educators who have chosen to dedicate their lives to our future generations simply by exhibiting simple human compassion. The first step to solving a problem is to acknowledge that there is a problem. We have a problem. We need to admit it.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Janet Cunningham.
Welcome.
Hi. Good evening, board members. My name is Janet Cunningham. I am a teacher at Calvin Hunsinger School. I would like to add a little on to Ms. Velarde's statement here, but it has to do with this meeting tonight. Sometimes we perceive things differently. We have misperceptions. As I stood outside this building tonight with many other teachers, I thought we'd have a lot of people here. But some of the teachers refused to walk in this building because of the concerns with COVID. Why are we not allowing comments from teachers who are virtual right now or teachers who are afraid to come into a building? Why don't we have this meeting through a Teams format or a Zoom format to allow comments that you may really want to hear? When I look around and I see teachers who have worked all day with students but do not want to come in here because of, again, concerns, it's distressing. I recognize all the work that's been put in for our teachers, and I don't discount that. I am one of those level 1 teachers who's working with students at a school, face-to-face and online at the same time. I think we need to recognize how this has impacted the staff and maybe what our school district can do to allow the teachers to have more of a voice, to allow the staff who are exhausted to have more of a voice. Other meetings allow virtual comments. Why haven't we provided that? Is there something that keeps us from doing that? I listened as you talked about changing from Tarpon High back down to district, and I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed because I drive here every time from Clearwater and then back home to Tarpon. And I know there's people in Tarpon that would like to come to a board meeting, but they won't because it's back here. Again, I recognize the fact that everyone is working hard through here, and I recognize there's a lot of mental health issues that are going on with stress and anxiety. But I think a simple decision from this board to offer these meetings with public comments through a virtual format would be a very good step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Katie Meisner.
Good evening.
Good evening. I have 2 questions for the board this evening. How many students can each school fit at a 6-foot social distance as is exhibited here in this boardroom this evening?
This is not an opportunity for exchange. We'll listen
It's
to
a
your
dramatic
questions.
pause.
Yes.
I have 2 questions in 3 minutes. How many schools have exceeded that number, and by how many students are they over that 6-foot social distance? If you're not willing to come within 4 feet of another person for a board meeting, why are our students and why are our teachers being asked to do that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker this evening is Ginger Brengel.
Good evening.
Good evening. You know I always have to do this first. Good evening, everyone. I've been listening to the reports from the various departments, Paula Texel and others, about what we are doing to keep our faculty safe, and I agree with all of the things that they are saying. I am here to ask for a few more things, and these are things I've been collecting over the last couple of weeks from faculty across the district, and I tried to summarize them quickly for you. Because our teachers, they want to teach. If they didn't, they wouldn't be here, but they want to be safe. And with the additional students that return this month, I know we talk about the Category 1s and Categories 2s, and we need to keep them safe. But now with the additional students, we're all in greater danger of contracting the virus. We would like to ask for a different type of mask for our employees. The cloth masks that are given out are very flimsy and stretch out within just a matter of days. We're hoping that you could just utilize those for the students. They seem to be more comfortable for them. But for us who are speaking all day nonstop through them, they tend to stretch out. They go into our mouths when we speak. We really would like the surgical style with the clip at the top so that it seals the area around our face as well. We would like to ask that there be no eating in the classrooms. I find it ironic that we were asked not to eat with our fellow teachers in our classrooms, even if we are socially distanced, and yet teachers are being forced to bring students into their rooms for breakfast and lunch, no mask, eating. That's just, it's unsanitary, and it goes against CDC guidelines. As far as the distancing that's happening, the social distancing across the board is not consistent. There are some schools that are doing a fantastic job at keeping our students apart, and others that aren't doing a thing. And so we'd like to see some consistency in the distancing, not only in the classrooms, but also during the breaks and at lunch. I know you say, well, you know, teachers have that bubble.
but those of you who've been in the schools know that not all teachers stand up front and lecture. Our magnet teachers, our technical class teachers, they have to move. They have to be out there doing hands-on work with our students. Our ESC teachers as well. There's no bubble. Kindergarten teachers, come on, there's no bubble. And so we're just asking for a consistent distance or some kind of a guideline that we can have that will be followed across the district. Finally, I would just like to say that we're hearing a lot of negativity about, teachers just only thinking about themselves. And I want you to know that we were actually scolded for thinking about our students recently. We do think about our students every day. And I want to say thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I've had 4 more speakers sign up since I announced the initial 4. So our next speaker is Ainsley Cole.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. I am Ainsley Cole, and I'm here to represent Dunedin High School. And I would like to represent and ask the board to consider letting the senior class of Pinellas County students join neighborhood counties and be permitted to decorate our caps for graduation. We've learned to be flexible more so than any other time in our education journey. We've earned the right to be creative and show appreciation of those around us. I do respectfully request that the school board consider permitting the seniors to show our favorite hobbies, shows, or even inspiring quotes. This little gesture will allow us to be creative and for those who choose to participate, show appreciation. We would like to suggest that we would have to choose the design and get it approved by a principal and our guidance counselor. There will be precautions such as no inappropriate language or pictures. The designs will have to be approved by a specific deadline. Then after being approved and actually putting on the caps, you will then have to show the people that approved your design that you put the design that was approved on your cap. And once you get to, there would be a specific deadline of when you have to turn in your caps, so you wouldn't have to alter it between the time that you showed them that the cap was on and before actually graduating and walking across the stage. According to the informational graduation flyer that the students graduating in 2021, we have to pay $31.57 for our cap, gown, and tassel just to participate in the ceremonies. We are requesting the privilege to show the pride of our individuality while representing our school in graduation. As for an example for decorating our caps and gowns, my cousin graduating in the class of 2018, he went to a high school in Pasco County. It's Wiregrass High School, and he did the exact same precautions. They did the exact same requirements, and they were able to decorate their caps. And as soon as they signed in to where they were graduating, they were able to also get their caps. So they wouldn't alter it between the time showing that they got the design on the cap and actually walking across the stage. That's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Our next speaker this evening is Rachel Casnelli.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me to speak. I'm here on behalf of Dunedin High School, and I'm going to be speaking on some amendment options we had for a senior breakfast plan for 2021. I'd like to preface with the fact that our senior class is actually very small, and we don't anticipate a large attendance number for this event. Some amendments that we proposed would that it would be an outside venue, such as Philippi Park or even the outside setting at Countryside Country Club. The tables would be socially distanced with the same plexiglass dividers that are approved for use in our cafeterias. And there would be chaperones to enforce safety measures such as masks, distancing when our masks are off and we're eating, and frequent sanitizing. There would be a set number of people that could go up to the tables for food at a time, and the chaperones would be handing it out safely. And as well, there would be temperature checks prior to entering the event. Senior breakfast has been a tradition at our school. It's usually when we actually deliver senior class superlatives, and it's just a very, besides its sentimental value, even touching on mental health, it really is a light in this dark time, and I think that with the amendments, it's very possible that we could do it safely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Marissa Verkamer.
Good evening.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. So I'm just here to represent Dunedin High School and really all of Pinellas County. I'm Vice President of SGA at Dunedin High School, and I just come to speak for everyone, the whole senior class and the junior class as well, to propose our prom plan idea for 2021, because it's just a night to really, you know, let loose and not think about school and SAT and college applications that have just brought such a stressful toll on us and just a heavy weight on our back. So we have money invested for Dunedin in Innisbrook, and they do have an outside venue that we have been looking into, and we've talked to them, and we've been just going back and forth about a number of people that we can have, because a couple years ago for prom, we barely sold 200 tickets. So we're guessing that we won't have a big showing, hopefully. Everyone wears masks while attending unless eating or drinking while stationary. Tables set up around the venue socially distanced with plastic dividers set up in our cafeterias approved. We will have many chaperones to watch and make sure everyone is being safe and following COVID rules. We'll have thermometers doing temperature checks before entering. The limited number of tickets for how many people are allowed to attend per COVID rules. Seniors get first dibs on all tickets, with any leftovers going to juniors as first come, first served, because we don't want to disclude them at all. We believe that opening up to dates from other schools shouldn't be completely out of the picture if we had them get a rapid test or temperature checks, answering the questions like we did before we came here, before they bought their ticket, to show that they were okay and they're safe and wearing a mask as well. We believe that this plan could work for all Pinellas County schools, as we know 4 different schools in the county use Innisbrook as well as us. As the more southern county schools, we looked into many venues around them that have outside venues that could be used for a possible prom for them as well. Many people last year tried to do their own prom and it did not go well. They didn't do it through the school. And with being done through the school and through Dunedin, PHU, Eastlake, it would just be a more safer option, and it would be better for everyone, just to make sure everyone's safe and following the rules. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker this evening is Milan Gillum.
Hello, everyone. My name is Milan Gillum, and I'm a senior at Dunedin High School. And concluding from what my fellow classmates have said, the impact of a school dance seems so small, but it awaits for us 18 years in the making. We have waited our whole lives watching movies based on this very moment, day, and dance, where we get to live our high school expectations once inhibited by COVID-19. But this year, that can change. From a young age, this has been the climax to the rest of our lives. This is the transition from childhood into adulthood. This has to be the greatest send-off, so we can look back on this and remember the good old days. We have solutions, we can distance ourselves, and of course wear masks. Our goal is prom. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Dr. Grego?
I just want to thank, I mean, obviously, the board members all speak for you. If you just want to thank the students. Whenever I'm around them, they're always solution-based. They're always trying to figure out how to work it. They're refreshing in their positivity and also their creativity and how to get things done and understanding the challenges we face and not disregarding those challenges, but rather working with those challenges to try to get to that finish line. So certainly we've taken some notes, and we'll look at we'll talk with principals across this district. As you know, this board, we've been talking about our graduation ceremony, and we've been planning a graduation ceremony at Tropicana Field, but also, like last year, planning a B and a C alternative. So I just want to say thank you to the students who've come here and the students they represent for so many things that we certainly want them. If I know I speak for the board, we want those celebratory activities that you hold so dear. We hold them as dear as you do. So thank you so much for your leadership as students.
Very good. They have paper copies?
You have your handout?
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, if you would leave them with Ms. Simonetti, and she'll make sure that we all get copies of that. And
Thank you for your work.
And thank you for your time. Thank you for the thoughtfulness that went into it. We appreciate it. And, you know, we don't make any decisions, as I stated earlier, but I'm sure that this will be a topic of conversation. So thank you for being here. So that is the end of our, all right then, we will call that the end of our public participation. And thank you all for being here tonight.